Okay, so you know that riff, that huge driving beat. It just gets you instantly, Do I Want to Know by Arctic Monkeys. I mean, it's a global anthem now.
Absolutely massive.
But if you actually look back, this band, like the definition of British indie rock, they faced this really surprising hurdle. How did a group that was famously kind of against the whole promotion machine,
Yeah, resistant is a good word.
how did they manage to conquer America? It seems almost counterintuitive.
It really is one of the most fascinating stories in modern rock music, I think. Their journey, from being these local Sheffield heroes to genuine global rock stars, it's packed with these like key musical shifts and some, well, pretty unexpected strategic moves along the way.
Right.
And you absolutely hit the nail on the head. That one song, Do I Want to Know, just critical, a real turning point for them breaking into the U.S. market.
So that's what we're doing today, right? A proper deep dive into how it all happened.
Exactly. We're going to unpack it all. We've got a stack of sources here, video transcripts from music channels, some really insightful stuff from fan forums, actually, and of course, loads of music publications. It gives you a really rich picture.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that early perception. Because when they first came out, the whole vibe was kind of, don't believe the hype, wasn't it? Yeah, the Sheffield guitar band, lyrics soaked in British life, strong Yorkshire accents. I mean, mentioning Rotherham, saying, Marty Bum.
Yeah.
It felt so specific. What made everyone think, okay, this definitely won't work in the States?
That was the paradox, wasn't it? It just seemed tailor-made for, let's say, a lack of U.S. appreciation initially. It felt like their specific Britishness just wouldn't translate.
Right.
But, before they even really worried about America, their explosion in the U.K. was, well, it was something else entirely. Completely unprecedented in some ways.
Okay, so we have to start there then. Let's get into that early British blueprint. The, raw energy that fueled that massive success, say, between 2002 and 2007. How did it all kick off?
Well, the band officially formed in Sheffield 2002. You had Alex Turner, Jamie Cook, Matt Helders, and Andy Nicholson on bass originally. And the wild thing is, none of them really played instruments before they started the band.
Seriously, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Apparently, the big spark was hearing The Strokes, especially their first album, Is This It? That kind of raw, retro rock sound really inspired them to pick up instruments.
Wow. So they're basically teaching themselves, fueled by this garage rock revival sound.
Yeah.
And their early music, it's often described as this energetic British spin on that style.
Exactly. And Turner's lyrics were key. Really intricate, delivered super fast, almost like rap sometimes. He's actually cited influences like Wu-Tang Clan alongside, the punk poet John Cooper Clarke. A real mix.
That is a mix.
Yeah.
So how did they get that music out there? Because this is where the story gets really modern, right? The whole internet thing.
Totally. Instead of chasing a record deal right away, they recorded this batch of demos, about 18 songs, became known as Beneath the Boardwalk. And instead of selling them, they just burned them onto CDs and gave them away for free at their gigs.
I gave them away.
Yeah. And that simple act, that was fundamental. Those demos just spread like wildfire online, MySpace, file sharing sites. It was completely organic.
Wow. So it was a totally unmediated, DIY model for success. Fans felt like they discovered it, owned it, because it wasn't pushed by the industry.
Yeah.
That's kind of genius. Authenticity 2.0, as someone apparently called it.
That's a perfect description. It built this incredibly loyal fan base before they were even properly signed.
Which must have made labels very interesting.
Oh, definitely. They ended up signing with Domino Records, an indie label in London, in 2005. Apparently, the owner loved their DIY approach, and things moved fast. Their first single, I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor.
Straight to #1 in the UK, right? 2005.
Bang, straight in at number one. And then the debut album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, in early 2006, just exploded.
Became the fastest selling debut in UK history. Overtook Oasis, Elastica, huge names.
Yeah.
Yep. And NME Magazine even voted it, the 5th best British album ever? I mean, the hype was immense, but they actually delivered on it in the UK.
So with all that UK domination, why didn't it just instantly cross over to the US? What was the barrier?
Well, a big part of it was the band themselves, honestly. They were notoriously reluctant to play the game. The endless press interviews, the award shows, they just weren't interested.
Right.
Instead of hitting the road hard in America after the first album, they just wanted to get straight back into the studio and record the second one.
Which is fair enough artistically, but maybe not commercially savvy for the U.S. market at that point.
Exactly. And that intense period, the overwhelming fame, actually led to their original bassist, Andy Nicholson, leaving. Just couldn't handle the pace. Nick O'Malley came in to replace him.
So album 2, Favorite Worst Nightmare, comes out in 2007, another UK #1.
Yep.
But still not really making waves in the US. How did the sound change on that one? Were they moving away from just songs about nights out in Sheffield? It definitely felt a bit sharper, maybe more in your face than the debut. Still had those dynamic shifts and Turner's rapid fire lyrics, but maybe looking at things from a slightly different angle post fame.
Okay.
And you start seeing wider influences creep in, like the organ sound on 505 that was apparently inspired by Ennio Morricone, the spaghetti western composer.
Wow, okay. So they're already broadening their musical palette, even if the U.S. wasn't quite catching on yet.
Precisely. They were building this incredible foundation in the UK, but America remained elusive.
Right. So let's track that pivot then, the gradual shift between 2008 and 2012. This seems like where they really started experimenting and where Alex Turner's whole image started to change too.
Yeah, this period is crucial. Album number 3, Humbug in 2009, that was a real line in the sand.
Oh, so?
They went out to Rancho de la Luna studio in Joshua Tree, California, high-died vibes, and they worked with Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. You can hear that influence.
Totally. The result was this much slower, heavier, sludgier sound. It was a really deliberate move, to get out of their comfort zone, explore something completely different. Crying Lightning, the single, really showcased that shift.
Yeah, definitely darker, moodier. Then came Suck It and See in 2011. Was that another big leap or more like refining that Humbug sound?
It was kind of a step back in a way, less of the dense production of Humbug, more straightforward rock and roll songs, apparently recorded mostly live in the studio, showed maturity, but still had that kind of nervous energy.
Okay. And wasn't there some controversy with the title in the U.S.?
Yes. Suck it and see. Perfectly innocent British phrase meaning try it out.
Right.
But in the US, some stores thought it sounded, vulgar and actually censored the album cover or wouldn't stock it. Classic lost in translation moment.
That's brilliant. But maybe the real turning point, especially for their live show and Turner's whole vibe, was touring with the Black Keys in 2012.
Oh, absolutely pivotal. You're spot on. For maybe the first time in a long time, they weren't the main event, they were the support act.
Right. So they had to win over the crowd.
Exactly. And they apparently realized, okay, we need to step up our game live, we need more presence, and this is where you really see Alex Turner transform.
From the sort of awkward, shy kid.
Yeah, guitar high up on his chest, to this proper rock star figure. The swagger, the slicked back hair, the leather jackets, the whole teddy boy look started coming together.
He definitely found a new confidence on stage around then. And what wasn't Are You Mine released around that time too? As a standalone single?
Yep, spring 2012. Kind of felt like a statement of intent, a warm-up for what was coming.
And musically, that track was different again, wasn't it? That huge, fuzzy guitar riff.
Massive riff. And the lyrics, the flow, you could hear more of a hip-hop influence coming in, which was pretty new for them. It felt heavier, cooler.
It absolutely set the stage, didn't it? For the whole AM era in 2013, which is, where America finally clicked.
Bingo. This is the moment everything changed for them stateside.
So let's unpack Do I Want to Know? Because this is the song. That central riff, Turner apparently wrote it himself, similar to Are You Mine? But what else went into making that sound?
It was this incredible fusion of influences. They've talked about pulling from Dr. Dre's 2001 album, those distinctive beats, the bass lines.
Wow, okay. Dre.
Yeah. Then you throw in some Ziggy Stardust era David Bowie for the rock swagger. And crucially, Timbaland.
Timbaland, how did he influence it?
Apparently his production style really impacted the drum sounds and those backing vocals, the smooth, almost R&B style harmonies from Nick O'Malley and Matt Helders.
The Space Choir Boy?
Oh, yeah, Turner's name for them.
Yeah.
That sound was very much inspired by Timbaland's work, like with Aaliyah, that sort of velvet smoothness.
That's fascinating. It's such a blend. And wasn't there a story about Haim almost being on the track?
Yeah, amazing bit of trivia. Apparently, they asked the Haim sisters to sing backup, but Haim were deep into making their own debut album and just couldn't make it work schedule-wise. So, Space Choir Boys got their moment.
Close call. And lyrically, the song just hits, doesn't it? That universal feeling of, like, late-night texting your ex.
Totally. That longing after an ex, that gray area between longing and lusting, as someone put it. It's got that raw, introspective vibe. A Pitchfork writer even compared it to Drake's Marvin's Room.
Yeah, I could see that. And even though Turner was living in L.A. by then, he still throws in that little Yorkshire nod in the first verse, right?
Proof you can take the man out of Yorkshire. It's great. Even Dua Lipa kept that specific word when she covered it.
That's dedication. Okay, so the song comes out, and then Glastonbury 2013 happens, opening their headline set with it
Mm.
when it was barely 2 weeks old. That's
Ye-
bold,
Sheer arrogance, some called it at the time, but it was a masterstroke.
because it worked instantly.
Totally. Reports say the entire field just started chanting that riff back at them. It became this immediate ritual, like an instant anthem. An eternal football chant, someone described it as.
And Guitar World ranked it #3 riff of the decade. So, yeah, it landed.
Landed hard. And the charts reflected that, especially in the US, Do I Want to Know? Went to #1 on the Billboard Alternative chart.
Mm.
And it stayed on that chart for, get this, 48 weeks.
38 weeks. That's insane longevity.
Yeah.
Especially compared to, like, I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor, which only hit #7 on that same chart years before.
Huge difference. It just connected on a completely different level in America. Got them a Grammy nomination, too, for Best Rock Performance in 2015.
So the single just blew the doors open for the album, AM, which came out later in 2013.
Yep, September 2013. And that was their proper U.S. breakthrough album. Hit the top 10 on the main Billboard chart. And for the first time ever, their U.S. sales actually edged out their U.K. sales.
Wow. That's the turning point right there.
Absolutely. Turner himself called AM their most original record. He talked about blending hip-hop beats with 70s heavy rock, and he even incorporated lines from that John Cooper Clarke poem, I Want to Be Yours, into the final track.
Such a cool full-circle moment connecting back to his early influences.
Yeah. And the success of AM, it felt like more than just a hit album. It felt like a statement.
What do you mean?
It basically challenged that whole narrative that rock music is dead. It showed that guitar bands could still be massive, could still be relevant in the modern pop landscape if they were willing to innovate and try something new.
Right. It wasn't just rehashing old formulas.
Exactly. Which ties into that famous, or maybe infamous, speech Alex Turner gave at the Brit Awards in 2014 when AM won Best British Album.
Oh, yeah, the mic drop moment.
Literally. He talked about rock and roll maybe seeming like the last gang in town against all the pop and electronic stuff. And then he just says, almost defiantly, yeah, that rock and roll, it seems like it's faded away sometimes, but it will never die, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then, the kicker, invoice me for the microphone if you need to. It was pure rock star theater.
What a moment. So AM is this huge peak. They've conquered America.
Yeah.
What comes next? Because they didn't just stay there, did they? They kept evolving.
Not at all. After the massive AM tour finished in 2014, they actually took a pretty significant break, a hiatus. Members did other things. Turner revived the last Shadow Puppets with Miles Kane. Matt Helders played drums with Iggy Pop.
Right, gave them space to breathe and explore.
Exactly. And that exploration definitely fed into the next Arctic Monkeys album, 2018's Tranquility-Base Hotel and Casino.
Which was, well, it was a shock to the system for a lot of fans, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A complete left turn. Very piano-heavy, jazzy, loungy, this serene, floaty sound, miles away from the guitar riffs of AM.
And the lyrics were different too, right? More conceptual.
Yeah, themes about technology, social media, space colonization. It was this whole sort of concept album set in a luxury resort on the moon. Very ambitious.
Critically, it did well, though. Still hit #1 in the UK.
Yep. 6th consecutive UK #1 album for them. And it became the UK's fastest-selling vinyl record in like 25 years. So commercially and critically, still successful, but for the fans, definitely stylistically polarizing.
You can say that again. And then their latest album, The Car, from 2022, did that continue the Tranquility-Base vibe or shift again?
It sort of refined it, I'd say. Still very cinematic, orchestral, sophisticated, maybe a bit warmer than Tranquility Base, often described as this lo-fi indie musical tour de force, again focusing on themes like the past, present, future, romance, heartbreak, still very much in that more mature, complex sonic world.
So with these pretty drastic shifts away from their early sound and even from AM, how have the fans reacted overall? Because you hear different things.
It's a really interesting, ongoing conversation within the fan base. You definitely have a large group of fans who, openly say they gravitate to the earlier tunes. They want the high-energy rock anthems.
The stuff they fell in love with initially?
Exactly. You hear stories or read comments about people getting restless, or some even joke, falling asleep during the newer, slower songs at gigs.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's quite a contrast to the early mosh pits.
It is, but then you have another equally vocal part of the fan base who completely defends the evolution. They argue that it's this constant change, this refusal to stand still, that's kept the band interesting and relevant for, 20 years now.
They see it as artistic growth, not abandoning their roots.
Precisely. They see it as a band genuinely following their creative instincts, not just trying to replicate past glories. It's seen as a natural progression, even if it's quite a dramatic
You
one.
can't really argue with the continued success, can you? Awards, nominations, still headlining huge festivals.
Not at all. They keep getting nominated for Brits, Grammys, Emmy Awards for the newer stuff, too. It shows they're still regarded as one of the most vital and celebrated rock bands out there, even if their sound divides opinion sometimes. Their influence is undeniable.
Yeah, it's quite a journey when you lay it all out.
Really is.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, the Arctic Monkeys story, it's clearly not just about talent, is it? It's so much about that willingness to change, to evolve, to challenge what people expect from them. They didn't just stumble into breaking America. They actively reshaped their sound, their image, their whole approach to make it happen with AM, and they kept reshaping it afterwards.
Absolutely. And that constant transformation, it leaves you with a really interesting question to think about, doesn't it? How much does a band, or any artist really, owe their fans the sound they first fell for?
Right. Versus how much freedom should they have to just chase their own artistic vision, even if, some original fans don't come along for the ride.
Exactly. What does authenticity even mean for a band that's reinvented itself as many times as Arctic Monkeys have? It's a fascinating dynamic.